All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cameo podcast. I'm recording the second one of the day. And actually, kind of excited because my next guest reached out to me and said he was a fan, and that was cool. And he felt inspired to look into maybe making his own podcast or something, which was actually part of what the community was all about. I've had a tough time trying to explain that, and so go ahead and introduce yourself, and if you'd explain what prompted you to reach out to me, and I'll be talking less because I am visibly stoned right now. So
that happens, Nevin. Thanks for having me. My name's Jon Eadie. I've been following Nevin's podcasts and involvement in the municipal election, and I wanted to reach out because I kind of liked some of the things he had to say, and I just like people talking about things in general with what I feel is an underlying principle of just connecting us and hopefully making things better for a few people. And I'd been toying with the idea of some sort of page that would be along the same lines, but really about positivity and people that are passionate about making other people's lives productive with purpose in a positive manner, and any other P words that you could throw in that are applicable. And so I thought Nevin had also mentioned a need for us to get together more, I believe. Jump in if I'm wrong, or making things up. And that's what prompted me to reach out, Nevin, and meet you in person at a local coffee shop.
Yeah, cool. So, you want to start a podcast or something like that? What do you think you're leaning towards, and what can I help you with in making that happen?
Well, I like the avenue or the medium that you do through the podcast. I know I don't have like the visual and audio expertise or mixing abilities. I'm getting old, Nevin. I'm pushing 40 in a couple years here. I used to be able to program everything on computers. Not the case anymore. But I'm thinking more like I see so much negativity when on important issues on things like Facebook. Almost like a positive social media page platform, as opposed, or maybe it's because I think people are, I can't remember his name, but the fellow that studied Buddhism a lot and has these simple meaning of life type podcasts I see on my feed.
Okay, not sure who that is.
They're really good. I should remember to show you. But I think that avenue's kind of been taken, but maybe it's somewhere for me to start. See if anyone wants to hear what I have to say.
Totally. So like, if my brain starts going right now, the way I would approach it is, I think the best way is like just use Facebook Live and just like go Facebook Live and just say what you have to say off the cuff and just announce to the world, maybe write yourself some bullet points, practice in your head what you want to say, and think of it like a class presentation, right? And just like 10, 12 minutes of that, and do that once a week. And then, download the video from Facebook once it's live. So that's now your content to now transform and create, like, so you could rip the audio, throw it on anchor.fm, and now you have a podcast.
Boom.
And then you chop it up too, right? Like, now you can put those words behind like a picture. Now you put that on Instagram, right? Like, so right now the quick way to get attention is Facebook. That's heavily into Facebook video because they're trying to fight with YouTube, but they don't got the network ability. There's a really great video by Colin and Samir, two YouTubers, and they kind of show how like Facebook video is like used by politicians but not YouTube. So it shows like where you should put your effort in right now, but then it's just creating different mediums to reach people in different ways. And then my hope with the community is like, once you've got something you want to share, put it into this Facebook group, and it's all just about, hey, I made this. Everyone, I want to share this with you. I'm proud of this, and we're all just local Kamloops people, kind of, who are allowed to, put their stuff in, right? Your Facebook profile, right? And then from there, hopefully more people join in, right? And then we can all work together. And there's reaching out like different collaboration stuff, because like I think Kamloops could really become like this medium, like digital media epicenter, because we're so small, so we're able to collaborate and then put us on like a huge stage. Does that make sense?
I love it, and it fits into that. What do they say about Kamloops? It's big enough, but still small enough.
Totally.
Like we're at that interesting threshold of enough population to bring things like a Costco. Sorry, I'm not a big capitalist corporation guy, but I do like Costco with 3 children. But we still, I find, being relatively new to Kamloops, it'll be 4 years now, it's still small enough that it has that small town sense. And
Totally.
One thing I definitely noticed about Kamloops is people are very passionate about it as a community. And anything that can bring that sense of community back that I was privy to growing up would be, I'm on board for, and in a positive manner. Like it's so many good people out there trying to bring good things up online, and we seem to jump down that a divisive, negative, name-calling rabbit hole pretty quick.
Totally. There's so much negativity out there, and I'm lucky to have such like a strong community in Kamloops, and only being here for like 6 years.
Yeah.
Right, like I would have made it without that community, right? So like it's, I don't know, I love this place, right?
Yeah,
but
me too.
you know what I'd love to see is more of this idea that like a digital performing arts center for Kamloops.
Ooh.
Right? Like that's my idea for community, right? And you know, I'd love for you to join into it and create something, right? And you know, if you want to do it, just do it. And then like I can kind of try and help coach however I can, right? But yeah, I think a lot can happen in this town. But anyways, going down to 3 kids. You are a father.
I am a father.
Tell me about that. I'm a new father myself, so I'm still getting broken in. What do I need to know?
Just hold on and get ready for the ride. It's about all I can tell you. We have 3 kids that are 10, 8, and 5, so we just crossed the threshold into they're all in elementary school, which is pretty neat. We're starting to kind of get our adult lives back, and the kids are at that age where they can do activities with us, that one of us doesn't have to stay at home and change diapers or hold the baby at the bottom of the ski hill. So that's pretty cool. But not to brag, we're out of diapers. That was a big moment in my parenting life. That was 8.5 years straight of diapers, because they're all
diapers are expensive.
They are expensive.
Like a good phone bill a month.
Oh,
easy.
Man. I've never recycled a box so happily as that last box of diapers, and it was no problem crushing it to put it in the bin. I swore I was going to be one of those cloth diaper parents, for environmentally and cost-wise, until I realized how much that entailed, and the water you go through. Yeah, sorry, I went with disposable diapers. But I know what it entails is, especially if you're a good person, which I strongly sense from you, it's just being there for that baby and the partner that's with them the most, because that is crazy.
Yeah,
There's
I struggle with that, absolutely.
No harder job than
She's asking me, like, where I was supposed to go home in between, and I disappeared and got stoned, right? It's like, fuck. But
being a team, if you're lucky enough to have a partner in raising a child, like, and having compassion for the other one. As a male, I don't know if you guys are doing the breastfeeding thing, but just don't be that jerk that throws them at the wife or the feeding parent and says, nothing I can do, going back to sleep, whoosh. That doesn't go over well.
No, we've kind of got a system. I do mornings, the 6:15s or whatever it be.
Nice.
Try and feed the baby. but she sleeps through the night mostly, so
Lucky.
Yeah.
Everyone should be, well, I mean, it would be lovely if it were possible for at least the first one to be that perfect baby. Because it's hard enough when they are happy and healthy. Like, heaven forbid you're in a disadvantaged situation or a legit health concern. But it's a ride. I wouldn't change it for the world. It's one of the hardest but most rewarding things you can ever do in life. That's about all I have on that.
So what interests me about meeting with you, John, is I didn't know anything about you, really, when you reached out, right? Usually I can, like, get a frame of reference of where people are from before I meet them. So fill me in. Who are you? Like, because obviously I share more online than many people, and seem to have a very good moral compass of your online presence.
I try.
Yeah.
I could thank my grandma and my upbringing for that, I think. So I grew up, I might as well just try and give a quick summary. I was born and raised in Kincardine, Ontario. First time I went to BC was my first spring break of college, where I went to Rossland to visit some friends, like so many others in Ontario do. Went out to BC to check it out before moving on with their adult lives.
Me too.
Yep. And the first thing I said before I even landed was, oh my gosh, why didn't I go to college out here? I happened to be going to school for electrical engineering, so like after that 1 week in Rossland, that was my goal, was to graduate and eventually work for BC Hydro. And so I moved out in the back of a buddy's truck in, I think, 2003. And long story short, after like a year and a half of having a BC address, started work at BC Hydro in Cranbrook, and then fast forward to not bore everyone to death, had an opportunity to bring the family to Kamloops for 2 years on a work contract backfill type opportunity. We took the leap of faith and fell in love with Kamloops so much. Instead of going back to Cranbrook at the end of the 2 years, I was actually lucky enough to get a new job with BC Hydro that allowed us to stay here permanently. And that was tough because I got a brother and his wife and my only nephew, or our only nephew, in Cranbrook, as well as my partner's parents live in Moye just outside, but we still manage. Now the visits are less, but they're of higher quality, so that fits in. And yeah, just trying to really find my niche with, now that I have a little more time to get out in community events, like as part of got on with doing the ice rinks up in Juniper, which led to joining the Rejuvenated Community Association, which led to running in the by-election last year.
Oh, really?
It's not very fiercely, I'll say, but that was, wow. The people, that really confirmed my love for Kamloops. Like, the people I met running in it or following it or engaging with members, it just solidified that. Like, I love Kamloops and want it to be my home kind of thing.
Totally.
So that's me.
Crazy. Wow.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Yeah.
I could go on about that
it's
for
funny.
hours.
It's funny how people can just surprise you, but you have no idea who they are, and it's just like, oh,
Boom.
you know. I'll be honest, I don't remember your name on the.
Oh, that would not
by-election.
be surprised. I did not have any signs. That's for sure. It was kind of one of those. I've wanted to be involved in politics since I was a young teenager.
Yeah.
I was observing things, and both sides of my family, like I was raised with a very strong sense of like community mindset.
Totally.
And I have a bit of history on both sides. My mom just got reelected as the mayor of my hometown. And she's been in municipal politics for, well, it'll be, I think, 16 years by the time she's done this new term. She was a teacher before that. So I've always had some good insight. My dad was a farmer, and I called him the Prime Minister of Corn. it was just the Ontario Corn Producers Association. But yeah, I've just always, I was always raised with what I call the good fundamentals of a religious upbringing.
Yeah, no, I
just
get
being
that.
the golden rule.
Yeah.
Not, and the sense of community that comes with the church.
Yeah,
that type
no,
of
I get
thing.
that.
And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just the way I thought everyone would, take care of each other, help each other when you're down, kind of thing. And
Totally.
it's not quite the way the world works.
I've made friends with like my neighbors. Like my one neighbor's like 93-year-old man.
Nice.
And his daughter, made friends with her. And it's like they helped me when I had to like chop down this massive Chinese elm. It was massive, like it was bigger than this table.
Ooh.
And they pitched in big, and then I would be in the backyard smoking, and she'd be in her backyard smoking, and we'd go hang out with the dog, and so I've actually thought a little bit myself running for the election one day. I think it's like an interesting thing. Like back in my hometown, I was watching this year, which is super interesting, is there was this like two guys I was watching basically trying to create like one was using it's hard to explain, like look up the Cambridge election, and there's these two, the Cambridge, Ontario election, and there's like this one guy was campaigning all about the weed, and this other guy basically running his campaign off of homelessness and YouTube, then did like vote naked online, because you would vote through like their online portals, which actually had an issue. Like the online portals voting went down, so they had to extend until 9 o'clock at night, which is terrifying. That like the elections could be messed up in that sort of way, right? Which I appreciate with Kamloops with the paper ballot. But
for sure.
Are you going to run again? You think so?
I had fully planned on running this year again. Last year when I started, and then life happened.
Yeah.
And especially after sort of paying even closer attention to like the time commitments of what it would take to do the job of counselor the way I would expect myself to.
Yeah.
Which I found it pretty easy, because I found Kathy Sinclair did exactly what I would have expected of myself, except more.
Yeah.
And then the reality was I'd be doing a disservice to myself, my family, and Kamloops by pretending that I was
No, I get that.
able to meet the commitment. Because I repeatedly still do it, even as I push 40, but my appetite seems to be bigger than my realistic plate.
Yeah.
And I do not like being that guy. Like, if I commit to something, I want to be in and deliver.
Did you ever listen to my Arjun podcast?
No, not
So
yet.
that one was recorded before I did the civic election stuff. And we don't talk at all about politics. We just talk about like. Did you know Arjun used to have a podcast?
I did not.
Yeah.
And if I did, I forgot.
But like I think it's been like lost the archives. You can't listen to it anymore, because I think he didn't pay for the hosting, so it disappeared, right? But check it out. Like you can still find it online. He had some very interesting guests.
I'll have to.
Yeah, and he's been doing some cool stuff. Have you checked out Studio 322 and what they're doing?
No.
They've been doing a live feed on like Thursday nights usually, and they've got like a DSLR live rig where they can almost like walk around live with good audio, good video, and multi-camera setup. It's wild. They did something down at Sacred Skin just the other day, and it's like
really
quite impressive what you can do with not that much, right? Like you can do it with just yourself, and which I'm doing, plus a little bit more, right? But what questions do you have about starting something, or what do you think is going to be your next step, or do you think you're going to take a next step in media creation?
Well, I appreciate the question, because that's exactly where I'm at. Is it's kind of a turn in the tides for my commitments, and sort of looking forward the next year is just that. It's like I do have some stuff going on with work that I'm kind of waiting on
Yeah.
before I make any outside of work
Yeah.
and or family commitments. But this one, but something along the lines of what you're doing, whether it's podcasts or media forum, won't leave my head. So, and I do have some things going on with the Juniper Ridge Community Association that could go one way or the other, depending on time commitments. So really, that's exactly what I'm doing, is trying to figure out what I'm doing.
Oh.
Aside from my full-time job and
If I was you,
full-time
right,
family.
like Juniper Ridge community must have a bunch of business leaders, whatever it be, right? And just be
Definitely.
like, hey guys, I need one person to chat with every Thursday at this time at this place. You know, fill out my schedule. We'll do a Facebook Live, and then rip it and do the whole media creation side of things, right? Because basically, I'm struggling. You know, like this whole idea of like you create this online currency that eventually you can trade for real monetary stuff, right? But people need exposure,
Yep.
so they need to. In a busy day, they have to. You know, time is money, unfortunately, right? So they have to figure out like when it works in the schedules to meet, and then it's like you create this like it's great. Anyway, sorry, a little bit stoned, a little bit rambling, but people get it.
No, it makes sense.
So that's what I would do if I was you, right? And that's just the way my brain works. You know, some people think you need to map it all out and have like this like big, you know, the vision, and you know it's going to get really messy at some point, the messy middle. I think there is a book about it that I listened to a Gary Vee podcast about, but haven't read the book, but maybe I'll get it on Audible. But yeah, no, I think you should try it, do it. You know, I'm going to be your biggest fan, your biggest critic, right?
Yeah,
like,
oh yeah.
But
I like critics.
you know, because I think like we're in such a time that you can honestly start shaping the future media and make Kamloops really like a Hollywood epicenter, and create a whole new economy. Because you can look at what's happening in LA with all the YouTubers who are essentially moving to LA to create what is Hollywood. Well, why can't Hollywood be here?
Could be anywhere.
Yeah, so you're
I hear you on the 'cause I am more of a, I have a vision, I have framework. I do realize it can get messy in the middle.
Yeah.
I do prefer to get things out into the real world and
Yeah.
then adjust based on live feedback or experience, as opposed to trying to pretend that I can perfectly plan how everything's going to go, especially when
Totally.
you start bringing other people into it. It's just not going to happen, man.
So like, if we like pretended like this cut, and then like this was your podcast, how would it start? Like, can you imagine it yet? Like, can you make it on the fly?
Yeah, I'm not there.
You're not there?
I'm not there. If this
There's
is mine,
There's a podcast I read about it on Kamloops this week called Junk in a Graveyard.
ooh,
So they're like a nerd kind of podcast, nerd with beer podcast. They have a YouTube channel and Instagram and stuff. You should check them out. They're doing some cool stuff too, right? And there's there's a huge opportunity to find interesting creators like them, right? And working with them, and then find the next creator all around town, and just or other dads or other whoever it is, right? And create this network of collaboration. We all basically, it's community over competition, right? We all rise together.
I
right?
like the rising together idea.
And there's so much money that could be made there. It blows my mind, and I struggle with the idea of abundance so much because I know how hard it is to make $1. Like, it's crazy how much money is they say 5% of Hollywood actually it goes to YouTube, and look how big YouTube
Wow.
is. Like, that's how much money there is in the entertainment industry.
Just left on the table.
For us to get a
really.
sliver of that is mind blowing, and so. Yeah, I've been struggling to try and figure out the new direction. I call it Kameo 3.0, where
There you
I
go.
try and make it a better version of what was before, but it's always in stages, right? People have made suggestions, and I've decided to ignore some, and
Right.
we'll go from there. Everyone has an opinion, and that's I've had opinions of other people too, right? But that's kind of living, I guess, unfortunately. But
for sure, I love getting other people's perspective and taking it in to form my own or upgrading mine. Like, I have a lot of ideas and principles, I guess, but I'm not going to try and push them on everyone else. But if, like you mentioned earlier, around the taking time to sit down and talk about stuff, I'd be interested to find out, if there is an audience, if there is a lot of people that think along the same lines of how much better, how we could bring each other up.
Totally.
If we worked a little more together. I always think of like the anthill analogy.
Yeah.
And, how you sit there and watch them. It's a whole colony or a portion of the colony working towards a common goal.
Totally.
And I just feel like, not necessarily just in Kamloops, but society in general is not a uniformed colony. We seem to be scrambling all over the place with no direction.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
One of the reasons why I like Facebook Live too, for like the quick, easy thing, is when you do something live on Android phone, you can then quickly share it into mass amount of groups.
Yeah.
Right? So, if you put it on a Facebook page first, what you can do is you can then go into the thumbnail and change the thumbnail and introduce your podcast or the name of your show. And at the very least, you get some free impressions of people seeing your stuff because no budget, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be a hobby. Now you have some eyeballs of whatever the name of your show is, right? And your brand, your image, right? So, if you quickly do that, then it's like a way to like, even 12 views is like, imagine speaking in front of 12 people. Like that's nerve-wracking.
Well, yeah, I do it for work sometimes, and I'm a bit of a glutton for punishment, some people have said. I'm not too shy to volunteer. Someone's got to talk to get the conversation going, right? I'll happily lay down in front of the bus for that one. It's kind of always like that, whether it was in school or work.
Yeah.
I just like people, and I'm really, not to say that like I'm not on a save the world mission or anything, but I definitely just care about people and would like to start the conversation about how we could care and make communities thrive more.
Totally. Yeah, it's I come from a Christian community upbringing too, right? So I understand a lot of principles you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have a lot of issues with some of the other things that come out of it. But it's definitely molded me who I am, and my parents are still active members in the community. My mom puts on like a soup kind of weekly meal in their storehouse or whatever it be.
Yeah.
Or once a month or whatever it is. But wow, we're 28 minutes in. I want to do you want to like chat about anything at all?
I'm feeling like we did a good amount of talking.
Good amount of talking. All right. Yeah, we can leave it there. And if people are interested in chatting more about your ideas or anything at all, you interested in people reaching out to you? How do you...
I'm pretty open on Facebook. If anyone... I would never stop anyone from reaching out to me for sure to share that I'm an idiot and should shut up more, or if they like something they heard I said and could build on it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty open book when it comes to that.
Cool.
My feelings do get hurt a little, but I recover.
Yeah, don't we all?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you once again for meeting with me. I appreciate it, and hopefully you don't dislike this episode.
I won't.
It's raw, it's uncut, and that's just how it is. I think it's a little honest and truthful, and thank you for listening in to this episode of The Cameo. If I could ask one thing, maybe leave me an iTunes review. I don't know if I've ever had one in a while. I think I have maybe a few. I'd like a few more. And hopefully you listen to the next episode as well. Cheers. Bye-bye.